YouTube, Awesome Rider here. Welcome to my review for Kamen Rider Gotchard Episode 6. So, I did like this episode more than last week's. It was still pretty much run-of-the-mill average episode, as they kind of have been, but as you guys know, I wasn't the biggest fan of last week's episode. Some people did point out, though, that it did showcase that chemis can bond with humans in a positive way, which I guess I didn't think about as much because I thought that was the purpose of Gotchard, but that shows that episode had a little more value than I thought. Still never the biggest fan of those types of episodes, though, but this week was a lot better. It sort of focused on Spanner. I mean, it did, but we didn't necessarily learn a lot about him. Like, I thought maybe we might get some more backstory. We did get a little bit of backstory about how he became this #1 alchemist in this fight or whatever, but, like, not anything that we didn't already know or infer, so I was a little disappointed there, but it was nice to focus on him because at the moment he is my favorite character. He is, like, generic badass character number 478, but it's a nice balance to how much I dislike Hotaro and is the most interesting character to watch, and his kind of, like, cavalier and callous attitude towards everyone, especially Hotaro, is just fun to watch because I dislike Hotaro so much. It's fun to see him just be ignored by this guy. But that's kind of the primary focus. Is this week's Monster of the Week is this guy that was part of the academy before and I guess lost to him for like the #1 alchemy test chemist thing. I don't know why it reminded me of the story of the dude that Garen beat out, or for the candidate of being Garen, and then he like forced them to make the Liangle system. It just reminded me of that. But he basically thinks that, you know, Spanner ruined his life and wants revenge on him and becomes a chemi, and then the guy's like, I don't even, it's like that meme, it's like, you ruined my life, it's like, I don't even know who you are, because Spanner like doesn't remember him. I don't honestly know if he truly doesn't remember him because he just doesn't care, or if he's just saying it to mess with him because he's being a douche. I don't know. Either way, I thought it was funny and I liked it. And that was kind of the main antagonist of the episode, and he, like, at one point kidnaps Rin, because he's like, oh, he's your girlfriend, right? Because he sees her, like, or sees him being affectionate to her, and he's like, no, I don't care what happens to her, which I thought was funny. He was, like, again, very cavalier about how he dealt with her in that situation, and just very cavalier about the whole situation. But basically, we just get to spend a little more time with him, get a little bit more feel for the way he, like, his mode of operation, and we get a little bit of a flashback about his time with alchemy. And what's cool is, at the beginning of the episode, we do see him stop a chemi from being born, which is kind of cool. And we see the villains sort of further their machinations and what they need to do in their plans, so it does further that a little bit more than last week really did, which is also kind of nice. And it also sets up more of the rivalry with him and Hotaro, as Hotaro wants to surpass him as a chemist, or an alchemist, excuse me. And also, like at the beginning, Spanner comes into the restaurant and he eats and he's like, this is atrocious, and he makes something better, and so he's like, I'm gonna surpass him as an alchemist and a chef. But he ate the whole thing? So I'm honestly curious if, like, was that just a I'm too polite to waste food thing? Or I honestly legit thought he secretly liked it. I feel like that's gonna come out later. But that was kind of the setup of the episode. It set up his character, his mode of operation, like I said, and a little bit more of the rivalry with him and Hotaro. Pretty generic stuff. We also did get a debut of another form, as Spanner actually gave Rin, like, the hot pepper card. He's like, oh, it's a talisman of luck or something. And then she throws it to Hotaro in battle and we get the gorilla pepper form. Again, that's definitely one thing that's been a highlight of the series for me, is the suit design. I pretty much have liked every form. Even my less favorite ones like mushroom, whatever, I can appreciate. So another good form. And next week's looks even cooler. One thing I did note, which I might be reading too much into, is this one character whose name I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember anyone's name in the show, but this guy in particular, I don't think I've mentioned him the entire time I've been reviewing the show. I keep forgetting his scenes. Every time I'm editing, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. But he's like this other character from the normal school, and he keeps encountering at the beginning, like, the stuff going on with the chemis. And he was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, and then he got his mind wiped. And at the beginning of the episode, he's talking to Hotaro, and he's like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. And he's like, well, I'm going to create a world where you're going to be able to remember that. Just alluding to the fact that he wants a world where humans and chemis live alongside each other. And then later in the episode, when the teacher guy shows up, see what I mean about people's names, to erase the Monster of the Week's memory, it comes off very menacing. So I'm very curious if, like, that's going to be a point of contention between Hotaro and the other members of the Academy, of, like, erasing people's memories as he tries to build, like, the chemi future or whatever. That just was kind of the vibe I got from that. I'll be curious to see that. But yeah, it was overall fine. I'd give it a solid 3 out of 5. I enjoyed it more than last week. Like I said, I'm enjoying Spanner. There was some good action. It's still just really generic. And one thing that keeps, like, bothering me too is I can just see the writing on the wall of Spanner eventually developing a friendship with Hotaro, or at least a begrudging respect, because this show's been very paint by the numbers, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't make it not enjoyable, but I do hope that over the course of the series run, there's a couple surprises, because for the most part, everything's kind of going the way you think, which is kind of disappointing. But like I said, better than last week. But what did you guys think of this week's episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.